In this country there exists an ancient constitution which is underpinned by the Magna Carta. It's known as common law, and it is our true law as the men and women of this land. It states that the power lies with we the people, and all it requires of you is that you do no harm to your fellow man or woman, that you behave with integrity and speak with truth. These are your only bonds, to be a good person. It states that the law should be an instrument of justice, not of domination and control. The government should take note. Common law was created to protect the common people of this land. It is common sense, something we haven't seen much of so far this year. Common law empowers you as an individual, a sovereign being. The complex and convoluted legislation used by our governments are created for the exact opposite purpose, to make us feel small and stupid and like we can't fight our own battles. It's the reason we as a people are so lost right now, because we have forgotten who we are and the powers we possess. And it's been orchestrated that way by the same people who orchestrated this pandemic, for the sole purpose of monetary gain and control of the masses. Under common law, the rules surrounding COVID-19 are unlawful and unenforceable. Under a democracy, all legislation must be seen to be reasonable and balance the God-given rights of the individual with the needs of the people. We can protect a vulnerable population without these gross impositions on our freedoms. We have God-given civil liberties under the British Constitution, which protects our rights to life as we know it. Where has that gone? Freedom from torture. Does that include mental torture? Freedom of assembly, as long as they say it's okay. Freedom of expression, as long as we don't say the wrong thing. These freedoms are being taken from us. We are being subverted away from our own sovereignty and towards their supremacy. Boris, you are not our babysitter. Under common law, you quite literally own your rights. They are your property, and no person or group has the authority to take your property without your authorization. We the people created the government, the courts, and the police force. We the people overstand those service corporations. They were created to serve we the people. So how have they managed to take these freedoms away from us when they are ours by divine right? Of course, it's been done through deception. The information I'm about to share with you, the 1% doesn't want you to hear. Let me ask you a question. What is a democracy? And do we live in one? Most people would agree that yes, we do. We vote and our preferred party governs. That is not a democracy. The origins of the word come from the ancient Greek and means the people rule. A democracy means that the people are in charge, and to be truly in charge, we must be in charge of our own laws. Common law is man-made but divinely guided, because it is born of the conscience of the people. Our Constitution gave us the right to trial by jury to ensure that our laws were just. The saying tried and tested comes from our common law. It means that legislation passed by the government has been tried by a jury of the people, tried against their conscience, and if they find it to be fair, the law is allowed to pass. But if one person finds it to be unjust, that legislation can be removed. It's called annulment by jury. And it's how government legislation is supposed to be kept in check by we the people. Under Article 61 of the Magna Carta, the people also have the right to withdraw their consent for any government that is not prepared to hold up and support the Constitution. But these mechanisms for justice have been hidden from us and deliberately watered down for no reason other than to dominate we the people, and to ensure that those whom we appoint to serve us cannot be held accountable for their corruption. Make no mistake, They do not want you to know this, because under common law, it is also your right to bring private prosecution free of charge against any public servant that has been involved in passing or enforcing legislation that is deemed to be unfair by the people. Why do you think these truths are hidden from us? They don't teach this stuff, because the more people who know, the more dangerous to the service corporations who seek to control us this truth becomes. They rely on our ignorance. In fact, legally speaking, our silence is consent, and our ignorance is our compliance. In other words, it's not their fault that we don't know our own rights. As a business owner, I've been scared of speaking out about how I feel, fearing repercussions, as have so many people in my position. But I am not a business. I am a natural-born woman of this land, and this raises an important point, that under the laws of this land, common law, the rules of civil procedure do not apply to we the people. What does this mean? It means that a service corporation, an incorporated entity, which our government is, cannot bring civil action against a man or woman, but they can bring civil action against another legal entity. And once your birth is registered, that is exactly what you are, and you receive a paper birth certificate with a registration number as proof of this. Society then raises you to believe that that legal entity, that piece of paper, is you. It is not. You are more than a name on a piece of paper. You are a living, flesh and blood being. The legislation created by the government is all on paper, and they only have jurisdiction to control that which is on paper, hence why signing things is dangerous. Remember that even though your birth was registered, you did not consent to it. Even though you have a birth certificate, you did not sign that document. Throughout your lifetime, you will remain a free, living man or woman of this land who is not bound by legislation created by any business. That includes the government and agencies under their control. It is important to be aware that most public servants and those working lower down in the law are kept unaware of this information because ultimately the same has been done to them. Now, you might not have any interest in law. I didn't. But you should have an interest in this, because it is the exact means by which your freedoms are being taken from you. They can be taken back, but only if enough people wake up to what has happened. This knowledge is available to you, but only if you actively seek it out. The only reason I found it is because I'm a spiritual seeker who also has a love of logic, not two realms that usually meet. Common law is directly derived from something known as natural law. The word natural finds its origin in ancient Egypt through the word neger, meaning God or spirit, and al, meaning of. Natural literally means of God or of spirit. Natural law is the unwritten and unchangeable law of the universe. It defines the rule of law in this country, that there is a higher, purer, supreme, divine wisdom that governs the natural laws of our world. We all instinctively know them and are bound by them and to them. They are right versus wrong, truth versus lies, good versus evil. You see, our common law reaches back to a time when it was common knowledge that within us all exists a map for discovering this universal truth. It's called our conscience, and it's what each juror was asked to use in order to align with and reveal truth. They were instructed to do this independently, so that the course of justice could not be diverted by corruption. The word conscience comes from the Latin con, meaning together, and sciere, to know. Conscience means to know together, because every being has access to this knowledge through their conscience. The understanding of our ability to align with universal truth is ancient, but we have been subverted away from its proper application. Even though this wisdom has been lost, it is still our duty as the people of this land to use our conscience to enforce justice.